Hey, Spider Nation, welcome back to another episode of Spider-Man's Tangled WebShow. I'm Jonathan, and joining me today is James. What's going on, James?
Vikings just scored and I'm pissed off. Please, Aaron, don't be hurt too long. Come back in this game.
James is watching football, for those of you who may not be familiar. He's very transfixed in this football game. Anyway,
Browns are losing 16-0 if you're in Cleveland like John.
thanks, James. Thanks for pointing out how much my team sucks. But yeah,
Yeah, so
so
the Browns, not the Indians.
yeah, too soon, James. Too soon with that one. That was a low blow. But anyways, yeah, we're back. This is going to be our monthly Spider-Man comic review episode. This is where we catch up on all of the comics that have come out in the past several weeks. I think one of these came out literally like 2 months ago. So, or at least one of these came out like 2 months ago. So we have a lot of catching up to do. We actually have 7 comics to review today. 7.
What's 7?
We have Ben Reilly, number 7 and 8. We have Renew Your Vows, number 10, 11, and 12. And then we have Spectacular Spider-Man, number 4. And then we have Amazing Spider-Man, 789. We're going to leave that one till last because we have a lot to say about that one. But we're going to kick it off with one of my favorite segments, personally. I really like James's Ben Reilly reviews. So, James, Ben Reilly, number 7 and number 8. Tell us, what happens in those 2 issues? What did you think of those 2 issues?
Well, first let's begin with issue 7. Right here we got a really badass cover of Ben Reilly with a skull as his head.
This is where is this where Will Slinney takes over the artwork from Mark Bagley?
Yeah.
So we got Peter David on writer and Will Slinney as the artist.
Well, we continue from where we left off in our last time we reviewed Ben Reilly. What Ben Reilly mean? Holy fucking shit! Oh my god! Death killed Kane! You bastard! So Ben is like trying to like do mouth and mouth on Kane, and then she's like, "That's not gonna work. I'm deaf. I'm not gonna bring him back. There's literally nothing you can do." And oh god damn it, Brady for a pick. That's fantasy points. I knew I should have started the kid from LA. Goff, whatever the fuck his name is. But yeah. And the Bears are winning? What kind of fucking tip-topsy world is this? Okay, we're back to Ben Reilly. So yeah, he's turning mouth to mouth on Kane, and she's like, "Not gonna work. I'm the Grim Reaper. Literally, if it was gonna work, I'd be gone by now." And the Kane's all like, and I mean Ben's all like, what? Don't laugh. She's like, God. And then he's like, because she's making jokes about, how, it's metaphorical, like Punisher and Wolverine and Deadpool, because those guys seemingly can never die. And then Ben's like, dude, what the fuck? And another thing, hot redhead. Kind of convenient. You go to somebody who's a clone of Peter Parker as a hot redhead. So she goes, does this help? And she gets her normal Grim Reaper, whatever you fuck look for. And Ben's like, oh my god, go back to hot, go back to hot. Literally, he literally does that. He goes like, oh, go back to hot, go back to hot. And then he goes, so you're deaf, right? Yeah, I had a whole storyline where I try to rise the dead. So, yeah, you're kind of a bitch. And then she talks to him about how, deaf, and how he's the dick because when people die, they're supposed to go to heaven, but for some reason, the Marvel Universe, she gets fucked out of souls and shit like that because everybody and their dog comes back to life at least once in the Marvel Universe now. And she's all kind of like taking it out on Ben because there was like maximum overload of Spider-Man guys coming back from the dead. And then Ben goes, and she goes, "That's why you're special. You're a special case to me, Ben Reilly, because all the stuff with New You. And then Ben goes, special. I thought you're dating Thanos. And she's like,
Wow.
and then she goes, no, Thanos is kind of like my creepy stalker. I don't want nothing to do with Thanos. But I did date Deadpool. Because the comic universe where Death is a hot redhead and she flirts with a Spider-Man clone, is stalked by Thanos, and dated Deadpool. Comics are weird.
That's what we call a Tuesday, James.
And she's like, yeah, Ben, you're unique because you're a clone, so technically you shouldn't be alive. And then you were dead since the 90s, but now you're alive. So you're kind of a special case, and that's what I mean by it. And then she, for some reason, won't stop talking about that she dated Deadpool, I guess because they want the Deadpool readers to know that to buy this book. Because she brings it up again, where she goes, so you want to know about me and Deadpool, don't you? He's like, actually, we just moved on from that topic like 2 panels ago. But whatever. So yeah, she starts talking to him about how, you have a choice. The little girl can either stay dead or Kane can stay dead. And then before that, she shows Ben like souls and we're all pearls. And she basically explains to Ben, and here's your soul, and it's black and it's all cracked like the Dragon Balls from the ending of the arc of Dragon Ball GT.
It kind of reminds.
And she's
that thing that you said with like all the souls in there. That almost kind of looks like a Transformers thing, where it's like the well of all sparks, which is like where all Transformers, sparks, or basically souls, but all Transformers sparks join the well of all sparks, and that's kind of like the image that they make. So that's what that's kind of reminding me of.
Well, basically, I don't know how this works. I'm not that religious of a guy, but I assume if you're a clone of somebody, you shouldn't have a soul, unless Miles Warren cloned the soul of Peter Parker when he made the clone of Peter Parker.
But then it's like...
I'm not religious, so anybody who's religious, please comment. Feel free to relate to me. If you have a clone, does the clone have a soul?
I guess it's like it's a living person.
Yeah, but according to the Bible, animals don't have souls. I'm not trying to get religious with you, but animals can't have souls, but clones can. That's kind of a dick move.
I don't know.
Does that mean a clone sheep has a soul, but the sheep doesn't? Well, whatever. Moving on. She's all like, yeah. So she literally like rips into Ben's chest and pulls out his soul, and it looks like the destroyed Black Star Dragon Balls from Dragon Ball GT. And she's like, yeah. Every time Miles Warren brought you back to life that 27 times, literally did drive you to insanity, Ben. Because each time your soul is still intact, so you are the Ben Riley from the 90s. There's no way around it. You're not a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, because it is your soul. Your soul just went from one clone body to the next, and every time that happens, that really fucks up the soul. So the longer you stay alive, the less like a jackass when Dan Slott wrote you'll be Ben.
Which is basically Peter David saying, "Hey, the longer you keep me on this book, the more I'll do to fix this character."
And then, so all that stuff happens, and then she goes, "Yeah, so see ya." He goes, "Hey, what about Kane and the girl and the deal?" She's like, "Oh yeah, you got a choice. Choose between her or him." And then Ben does the thing that you would expect, somebody who's a clone of Peter Parker to do. Me. She's like, that's not one of the options, Ben. He's like, me. I just told you why you had a reason to live. No. I have no reason to live if people die. Me. And then they start to do the whole just fuck already thing where they start arguing back and forth about it. So yeah, that happens. And then they're still yelling about it. And then Kane does the one thing Ben does the one thing you really hope that he would do to a hot redhead. And yes, I'm joking. He kicks her in the face.
Wow.
Well, she's the Grim Reaper, so she's immortal, so I guess it doesn't count as beating up a woman.
No comment.
So she starts beating the fuck out of her, pounding in the face, and then she starts to giggle and says that's what she wanted out of him, the fight to live. Even though he said he wanted to die, that's what he was fighting for. But it was his fight to live, which causes her to make out with him.
Did J.M.D. Mateus write this comic? Is this trial?
He beats her in the face, and she makes out with him. Really mixed signals here, comic book.
Did J.M.D. Mateus write this? Is this Trial of Peter Parker all over again?
And then, yeah, because of that, as you guessed it like I did, Kane, for like the 75 bajillionth time since the 90s, comes back from the dead.
Because Kane. Because he Kane.
And also the little girl. And as Diva, or whatever the fuck her name, mob boss lady chick, I don't really give a shit about this character. She's all thanking Ben, and she's like, hey, Ben, what happened to your face? And he's like, oh, I had a problem, but then I got over it. And then now they reveal that, yeah, we're completely saying, fuck you, Dan Slott. We're going back to the Ben Reilly you know and love.
And so that leads into Ben Reilly issue 8.
Notice how I'm really happy with how this issue ends. Wow, what a great ending for Ben Reilly. They bring, look at this really cool like Mark Bagley cover. Look at this, how it's drawn and it's cool, and it's got it looks like a 90s comic. It even got the slingers in it. Oh my god, this comic to me so well. How do we open? Secret Empire fucking blew up Vegas. And real world events really makes this comic kind of whoa. Apologies to people who actually were in Vegas for a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
but I gotta make jokes as Ben. I'm not gonna try to make jokes as Ben Reilly is standing next to a destroy Las Vegas after what actually happened in Vegas a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to keep the jokes down the download for this review.
Our thoughts go out to everyone in Las Vegas.
Because it is spooky how Ben's staring at the buildings, and the buildings that are destroyed in the comic, and they look like some of the buildings where the events in Vegas went. It's like really creepy when I look back on this getting ready for this episode. But the comic begins with Ben staring at the city, and he's like, wow, Captain America joined S.H.I.E.L.D., and they fucked up the city. This sucks. Is basically what he says. And he's all talking about how, he wonders how Kane's holding up because his supporting cast conveniently are the only ones to survive the aftermath, pretty much. Then we have a flashback to Kane and Ben talking on the rooftop. And then they're like, so, you made out with Death. Yep. And she killed me. Yeah. But the kiss brought me, the little girl, and fixed your face. Yeah. He's like, fuck you, Ben, you're the villain! You start trying to beat the shit out of Ben. And he's like, Kane, dude, we're on this endless cycle since the 90s of you wanting to kill me. Just stop all over and get over it. You're now saying you're the superhero now? Well, I don't see this book being called Kane the Scarlet Spider. It's Ben Reilly's Scarlet Spider. You get the fuck off my title. And then Kane leaves. And then we see more stuff as survivors from the incident, like military guys. They're all coming in and pretty much, I don't even know how to make this joke. But they're people who aren't veterans of war, and they're breaking into the VFW to steal the food because they need it from the war veterans. And the war veterans are all crippled and, injured and amputated. And Kane's there, and Kane beats the fuck out of the guys like you should because, he starts trying to steal money, but food from these people, but yet they need food too. So it's kind of, really sad subject. While this is going on, you see the one guy who was, I think, the father of the kid. He's hiring the slingers and they're working for him because now I guess they're heroes for hire or hitman for a mobster. I don't know what's going on. They keep on giving the little girl the shot, but it's not really working. And Kane's like, what do you mean? I mean, Ben's like, what do you mean it's not working? I fixed her this issue before. He's like, yeah, you got her when somehow she was dead and then she came back, but the medicine you were doing for her is still not working. Her body's shutting down. And then the doctor leaves, and in classic kind of, Spider-Man, Ben Reilly, moment, he just punches the wall because he's all angry because he can't save everybody. He keeps on looking online, for someone who can help, and it turns out that the one person that can help, a Dr. Sheldon Sanders, and it turns out he lives in Carson City, which means he's near Vegas. He's in the same state, and Ben's really excited about that. So then he walks around, he sees Diva, and she starts kissing him because she knows Ben's okay, and he saves her daughter, and you see her using her casino as a refugee camp for people. Then you see Hornet, and he's being shot at by the cops because they think he's the criminal, but he's not. But yet he did steal the money bag only so he can draw out Ben. And then Ben shows up in a really cool panel where he's all like flying in. And then him and Hornet fight, and they fight, and then all of a sudden the other guy, Ricochet, shows up, and he beats the shit out of Ben in a surprise attack, and then Ben realizes, oh my god, are we really just going to throw in every 90s cliche they try to do in Spider-Man to keep the book sales up? The end. Well, actually, to be continued, but it's the end for the issue.
All right, James, so what did you think of these 2 issues?
7 is really good, and that whole it's basically because from this issue forward he's acting like actual Ben Reilly. There's gonna be a lot less nutso Ben going forward, which is good. 7 sets that up, but it's like they had to turn the dial up with the whole clones have souls and making out with Death after punching her. So there's still some of that like what the fuck moments, but for the most part it's you doing this. It's like a necessary evil to set up Ben becoming, the classic Ben Reilly again. Just in time for Marvel Rebirth too. What?
Oh no, I was just gonna clarify. That's what James calls Marvel Legacy.
Yeah, because it's literally like them trying to do it, but not as good.
All right,
and then you got that. That's really good. I like how he doesn't go. He goes as far as to fix Ben's face. He starts to say how Ben can go stand again, and he outright says, "This is Ben Reilly's soul. It is not a clone of. It's not like Dan Slott said, where it's a clone of 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 a clone. No, this is Ben Reilly. This is the same guy who you read in '95. With Lost Years, his run as Amazing Spider-Man." All this stuff, it's the same fucking guy. You have no worries whatsoever there. Issue 8, is just, the aftermath of the events of the Marvel, big event that just happened. There's no way around it. It's really kind of eerie to read now what recent events in the Vegas area. And again, our thoughts and prayers go to the people who are actually affected in Vegas from a national tragedy. It's kind of weird, though, because it's like they're bringing back the Slingers, and it's like I don't even get the tie-in of bringing them back because they came like a year or 2 after the Clone Saga ended. They were like in that middle ground run that nobody really talks about, where it's like after the Clone Saga but before the Mackie Byrne reboot.
Yeah,
that's where they introduced them. So they were after the Clone Saga. So the only time is we were also 90s Spider-Man supporting people, and it's like, but they never interacted with Ben. So it's like, there's no really connection here. It's just literally Ben's constantly like, oh yeah, I think I heard of you guys. Like, years ago. Weren't you guys arrested in the Superheroes and Resurrection Act?
Maybe.
Because literally, I don't know if you remember, John, but they're the ones that are being arrested that makes Peter turn on Iron Man, according to Shazinski. It's the Slingers being arrested.
Yeah, it's like, we maybe got arrested, but no one at Marvel felt like checking, so we may have.
I know that they probably got released because the Resurrection Act was, ratified, but my whole joke is I'm surprised that they're so forgettable that someone in Marvel didn't forget that they were not. I wouldn't be surprised if they were still in the only people left in that goddamn,
guys,
negative zone prison.
Guys,
was the Slingers.
We're still here. Hello? I gotta pee, Mom.
Is Iron Man still a douchebag? He's a Dr. Doom now. So he's actually a little bit better then.
Oh, is Captain America still on our side? Oh, that's a long story.
Yes. but also maybe no. What do you mean?
Oh well, see, he kind of got himself. He kind of got cloned, but maybe he didn't. We don't know yet.
Here's the weird thing, though, if I can bring this up. It's weird that Ben Riley would how because the event this is after the events of Secret Empire, so he knows how it ends. And it's weird that Packers score a touchdown. That's not the weird thing, but Packers tied the game. What do you mean he got touched? Nobody touched him. It's a touchdown. They take away this. Oh, I'm gonna be so mad if they don't call a touchdown. You're about to hear a pipe bomb that's not about the upcoming amazing issue. If they don't say Packers score there. But it's weird because like Ben doesn't mention once the fact that it technically was an evil clone of Captain America.
Maybe he just doesn't give a shit. Maybe he's just like, my city's in ruins.
Yeah, but you think the clone of Spider-Man, who was tormented for years with clones, would comment on the whole fact that his city got blown up by a Captain America clone, maybe.
I don't know, James.
You know what I mean? Like, you think he would like, even if they said, well, it's not technically a clone because it's a different timeline version of Captain America, but you think Ben would go, yeah, so a clone of Captain America blew up my city where me and Kane are operating the clones of Spider-Man. Dude, that's fucked up.
So, James, any other thoughts? Do you give these issues thumbs up, sideways, or down?
I give them both thumbs up. My only downside really with issue 8, though, is the slingers. It's like, you get something from the 90s that was actually pretty cool in Ben Riley that I'm actually really excited to see back in the books. And then you got the slingers, who literally asked me one good thing they did ever in the comics. It's like, Peter pretended to be them once to try to throw off Norman Osborn. So that's something cool Spider-Man did, not the slingers, though. Yes?
All right. Now we move on to the Renew Your Vows issues. We're just gonna do all these in one big jumble. I'm just gonna do recaps for 10, 11, 12, and then we're just gonna have it basically be kind of an arc review because these three issues they are kind of like a singular arc, I guess you could consider them as. So issue 10, we'll start off. Creative team: Ryan Stegman is the writer, Nathan Stockman is the artist, Jesus Abertov is the colorist, VC's Joe Caramagna letterer, Allison Stock assistant editor, and Darren Shan is the editor. So we begin at the Osborn residence where Ms. January wakes Normie Osborn up because it's his birthday, and the Oscorp employees have planned a special surprise party for him. Meanwhile, at an Oscorp warehouse in Staten Island, Peter and Annie are fighting the Lizard and Billy Connors, who's also lizarded out, I guess you could say. He's got his Liz on. So yeah, they're fighting, and the Lizard's like, I need something to fix Billy because he did this to himself by accident. He's not supposed to be a lizard. And Spider-Man gets the crap beaten out of him, and Annie's like, Dad, are you okay? And Peter's like, well, I got a bruised ego and a few sore ribs, but other than that, yeah, I guess I'm fine. And Annie's like, I put a spider tracer on the Lizard. And Peter's like, yay, you're the best daughter ever. Meanwhile, at Oscorp, Normie walks into a surprise party, and they bring him a double chocolate fudge cake, which is apparently his favorite. And Normie's like, thanks, everyone. Whoever ordered this cake is fired, because I'm a dick like that. I'm the most ungrateful person you could possibly be. Meanwhile, at the Parker residence, Peter and Annie are just having daddy-daughter day, and they're eating ice cream, and Peter's like, hey, I got a blip from the spider tracer you put on the Lizard. You want to come with me? But I'm not supposed to. Yeah, well, your mom's at a doctor's appointment all day, so, yeah, why don't you just come with me? So Peter takes Annie, and they go fight the Lizard. Normie's in his office brooding about how he misses his dad, how he misses Harry. He's like, I've been taking low doses of the Goblin Serum because I'm going to be just like you, Dad. And then he sees that the Lizard and Billy have broken into Oscorp because they're looking for some Regent tech that will take Billy's Lizard stuff away. So yeah, they go in there, and Normie sees them. He pulls out a few pumpkin bombs and starts throwing them at the lizard, and Billy and Spider-Man and Annie show up, and Spider-Man's like, "Boom, bitch!" Hits the lizard right in the face. Normie almost hits Spider-Man and the lizard with a pumpkin bomb, but Annie throws his aim off, and Annie's like, "Why would you do that? That's my dad." And Normie's like, "Yeah, your dad sucks." So Annie takes out the lizard, and Spider-Man's like, I contacted the Fantastic Four. They'll be able to help Billy Connors." And Normie's like, "You suck, Spider-Man." And Spider-Man's like, "Happy birthday, you ungrateful little shit." He doesn't actually say that, but that's what he should have said. So then Normie's like hugging a picture of him and Harry, and Normie's like, "What if Spider-Man's such a hero? Why didn't he save you, Dad?" To be continued. And then we move into issue 11, which is basically Revenge of the Green Goblin, I think, or The Curse of the Green Goblin, Part 1. Basically, same creative team, except Brian Level is the artist and Heather Antos is the assistant editor. Everyone else is the same. This starts in New York City. Peter, MJ, and Annie are all chasing the Rhino, who's like rampaging through the street. They're afraid that Rhino is going to take out like a truck, but he jumps over it, and it turns out that this truck inside are two guys in masks with two big guns, and they like two big like stun guns, and they hit Peter and MJ. So they go down, and then they capture Annie, and MJ is like, where did they take my daughter? So meanwhile, at Liz Allen's penthouse, she's talking to Ms. January about how Normie's like going off the deep end, is about to become a goblin. And so then Ms. January is like, "Yeah, well, Liz, you suck as a mother. I'm the only one who knows, what's best for Normie, so I'm going to let him go ahead and become a goblin." And Liz is like, "You suck." Peter and MJ are trying to track down Annie. MJ goes to see Liz Allen because she thinks that she has a lead. But Peter goes to find the Rhino to find out where Annie is. Meanwhile, Annie's being held at Oscorp under Normie Osborn's supervision, and Normie Osborn's basically like, your dad sucks. If it wasn't for him, my dad, it's like if Spider-Man was a real hero, my dad, wouldn't have died. And Annie's like, "Wow, you're really sad, aren't you?" And Normie's like, "Yeah, pretty much." So Peter goes to like a supervillain bar. It's called Vinny's Place, a bar for not so friendly people. He goes in, beats the crap out of everyone, then beats the crap out of Rhino and gets the information that he needs. MJ goes to see Liz Allen and is like, "Why did you infect me with this symbiote?" And so Liz is like, "I needed to distract Spider-Man." So she's like, "Where's my daughter?" And so they go off to Oscorp. And Normie basically is like, "Yeah, my Goblin mech is going to take down my Goblin mech is going to take down Spider-Man." To be continued. Dun dun dun. And then the final issue, which is issue 12, which I'm pretty certain this is the same creative team. Just let me check. Yep, same creative team as number 11. Basically, the Goblin mech is going crazy. Spider-Man's trying to fight it. The X-Men show up. It turns out that the Goblin mech is outfitted with Regent tech, so it absorbs powers. So it absorbs all the X-Men's powers, and Spider-Man's like, "Wow, this sucks." Eventually, Spider-Man.
Where's the flag? Okay, there's a flag.
James is
Dude, the Vikings are taking cheap shots at Green Bay all game. They knocked out Aaron Rodgers with one. The whole team should be thrown out. I'm tired of teams taking cheap shots on Green Bay like that Tavares fan or whatever the fuck his name is from Chicago.
So MJ and Liz get to Oscorp. They find.
You're probably gonna cut out that football rant, aren't you?
What?
You're probably gonna cut out this football rant I just went on.
Nah. But MJ and Liz, they get to Oscorp. They find Annie. They find out that Normie's not actually piloting the Goblin mech. It's actually Miss January because Normie had like a sudden change of heart, and he's like, "I don't want to do bad things anymore." So Peter and MJ try to go fight the mech, but their powers get absorbed. So Peter and MJ are left powerless and without the symbiote. So Normie helps guide Annie to the mech's weak spot, and they take it down. And basically, Normie and Annie hug. They're friends now. Peter and MJ get their powers back. Or Spider-Man gets his powers back, and MJ just gets rid of the symbiote forever. And then we cut to 8 years later, where basically Annie is a teenager now, I guess. Or maybe she's 18. I don't know. I have no idea how old she is. It just says 8 years later. Um, we'll just say she's like 16, 17-ish. And they're like, hey, so your birthday party's over.
They got 2 flags, the Vikings! Because they got upset about the fact that they got called for a helmet-to-helmet cheap shot. They got a 1st and 40.
So Peter and MJ are like, yeah, you've turned into a fine young woman. Here's your own superhero costume. Even though you had one before, but I guess this is a better one. So Annie's like, yay, and they're all like, let's go save the city. Dun, 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 the end. So I'll go ahead with my thoughts on these 3 issues. Personally, I kind of liked them. You know, I thought it was a decent story. I mean, like, it was good, solid Spider-Man family dynamic. Normie Osborn is, I mean, it's like, he's just a stupid kid, so it's like, obviously he's like not the best villain ever, but it's like, you know what? It's a solid story for what it is. The artwork was very solid. I liked MJ and Liz with the symbiote, and MJ just being like, you know, I'm not really in control of this thing when I'm stressed, so I really hope it doesn't try to eat you. I like Spider-Man just going into that bar and just beating the crap out of everyone until he got the information that he needed. I will say that the X-Men showing up in number 12 was a bit unnecessary. I didn't really think that was it was a nice, team up or cameo appearance by them, but I guess it didn't really add anything to the overall story. So it was like, why are
setting up that the 8 years time gap is her training with the Xavier School?
Oh, okay. But it's like
because in the ads in the back of the comics, if you notice, it's her letter to her parents says, "I'm having fun at Xavier's."
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, okay, then disregard what I just said about that. But anyway, I liked issue 10. I thought issue 10 was a fun, like, kind of setup issue. Spider-Man and Annie versus the Lizard, all that stuff. So overall, I mean, I just thought that it's a decent enough arc. Obviously now we're skipping ahead 8 years, so we'll see how that goes. But overall, 3 pretty solid issues. Not really anything to write home about, but definitely not terrible and not the worst thing we're going to review today. So, James, what did you think of these 3 issues?
I kind of found it anticlimactic, really, for the end of the Renew Your Vows. So it's when with the dance lot, amazing issue, counted, whatever. But like, it's a really weird anticlimactic end. How it's just like for that era with Peter and the little girl, his daughter. Now it's like, let's just do Spider Girl with a teenager, and it's really weird. Like the weird thing about the Normie plot is just they did the same thing as Spider Girl did, where Normie's kind of a goblin for an arc, but then he turns good right away because they want him to be the good goblin, and it's like, why can't he just be the evil Green Goblin that's the foe to, Spider-Man's daughter? It has to be that he has a crush on her, and so he turns good. You know what I mean? It's kind of anticlimactic. They did the same thing in Spider Girl. Having it being the nanny who's actually the evil goblin, if you want to say, is weird too. It's like,
that was a bit of a cop-out, I thought. I will admit that.
It felt like they had to have an evil goblin, so it had to be somebody. So, it has to be the nanny, because we're not going to make it, Normie, and we're not going to make it Liz either, so it's the nanny. So yeah. That I just felt like it was a little bit anticlimactic, and they're building up to the new create team and the new stuff, and it just wasn't really that good of an ending, I felt like. That's all I can really say about Renew Your Vows. Like, honestly, there wasn't really too much to talk about.
Okay, so I guess we have a little bit of disagreement on our part here, but that's okay. I mean, that's what makes a well-rounded podcast, I guess. So now we move on to Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, number 4. This one, let me just pull it out here. This is.
You want me to cover this one, because I figure you're going to cover Amazing.
Yeah, let's have you do that. So, writer Chip Zdarsky, artist Adam Kubert, color artist Jordi Belair, letter VC's Travis Lanham, assistant editor Allison Stock, associate editor Devin Lewis, editor Nick Lowe. So, James, take us through what happens in Spectacular Spider-Man number 4.
Oh, he's just spinning on his web, fighting crime, spitting weapons, swinging from the highest ledge he can leap above our heads. You said ask me about Spider-Man. I'm singing the theme song. Tinkerer's inside that tank glowing orb thing, and Spider-Man's like, "Well, you're like the Tinkerer on steroids now. You're like Tinkerer Taylor Soldier Guy." and that's the title drop of the name of the issue. That's going on. You got Human Torch here, who's not a $5 billionaire yet. You read Uncanny Avengers, you get the reference. That's going down. The Tinkerer robot is like doing Tinkerer shit, and then Peter, gets pushed through the roof in a very Looney Tune moment. And while he's in the roof, he sees the guard he webbed up, and he goes, "Hey, how's it going? Are you okay?" And the guard's like, "No," and he's like, "Okay." And then that's not only is that lame and stupid, but also let me read you the continuity error here with the editor's note. Rooftop Guard first appearance was Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, Volume 2, Issue 3. It's probably sold out since that was announced Rooftop Guard as part of the Marvel Phase 9 lineup of the movies. Okay, I get it. It's a joke about the MCU and phases and, characters appearing, and now Spider-Man's in there. Spectacular Spider-Man Volume 2, Issue 3. Oh, so the Paul Jenkins Volume 2 from the 2000s? The security guard first appeared in?
I guess so.
Because I could have sworn it was Volume 3, Issue 3 he first appeared in, the security guard. It's not like you just couldn't go to the goddamn, ad in the back of the goddamn book and see, okay, 1 volume of Spectacular Spider-Man, 2 volumes of Spectacular Spider-Man, 3 volumes of Spectacular Spider-Man. This is Volume 3! You're about to do a legacy renumbering. How do you technically you're Volume 4 if you want to count the goddamn magazine. I know it's a weird thing to rant on, but my God, no, you're the editor. How do you not fucking know what volume of the magazine you're editing? This is almost as bad as when Brand New Day when the goddamn editor is known for Harry Osborn being the Green Goblin was watch Spider-Man 3.
That's not how it happened in the comics.
Literally, remember, Peter, I was the Green Goblin once. Harry Osborn was a Green Goblin in, well, just go watch Spider-Man 3. That was one of the dumbest editor's notes I have ever seen in my life. So yeah, after that stupidity, Spider-Man goes back down, he fights, he does quips, he gets ass kicked by the Tinkerer. Wow, it's almost like Tinkerer was in a recent Marvel Cinematic Universe movie.
It's almost like it was a movie of the Spider-Man variety.
Yeah, so that's going on. They're fighting in the streets. Tinkerer throws a car. Spider-Man webs it up and catches the car. Classic Spider-Man. Jonah comes into the Bugle, and wow, is this scene really weird, but it's coming up and amazing. Jonah comes and goes, I got proof that Spider-Man is working with a CIA double agent spy.
And
Robbie's like, we're not Fox News, Jonah. We're not dealing with fake news. We're the Bugle. Bye. No, look at the photos. He's with a spy. Look, he's just with a redheaded chick. How do you know she's a spy? Because
some guy told me.
And then Robbie gives him a speech about being integrity in newspapers, and oh my God, this is so ironic for what Dan Slott's going to do and amazing. It's so hilarious.
And then Betty Brant shows up.
And then she shows up, and of course, in classic Betty, she's like, you know what? For some reason now, because I got a phone call once from a clone of Ned, I'm going to become the bitch thinking Ned's still alive and Spider-Man killed him. Betty, from like the 80s. So I'm going to agree with you here, and then they're going to close the door together. So yeah, that's going on. Peter's back with his sister, in his house. Get ready to never see this again after Amazing. So he's walking around there wearing a Don't Ask Me About My Spider-Man Agenda shirt. Oh, wait, wrong comic. So yeah, he's walking around. He's like, yeah, so it turns out J. Jonah Jameson has a picture of us together. That's pretty weird. So yeah, he gets a call from the spy who's like, the spy guy, he's like, yeah, Spider-Man was with one of our spies who turned out to be a double agent, and she's wanted by the FBI and the CIA and S.H.I.E.L.D. and all the organizations. You're Spider-Man's boss. Do you know where he is? No.
Okay, call us back at your earliest convenience.
I'm gonna be out of town. I'm gonna be in Shanghai for a business meeting for Parker Industry, but I'll be back in 3 weeks. Why don't you call this number? The Parker Industry hotline. It's 1-800 go fuck yourself. Bye. He doesn't really do that, but funny thing is, that's actually the phone number for the hotline for Parker Industries because everybody knows Parker Industries was a big old middle finger. So yeah, he's all of a sudden he's like, okay, we gotta quickly change into our superhero costume and get the fuck out of here because there's a good chance they're tracking the phone call and they're gonna find you here. Especially since you at a time thought you were my sister. So let's get the fuck out of here. So then they go to the comedy club with the girl. She's doing her comedy act and she makes a secret invasion joke because 10 years ago, I guess, that Spider-Man shows up and he starts quipping on the stage, making jokes. And nobody throws off the guy who's dressed up like Spider-Man off the stage. Then he starts talking to girlfriend, kind of, maybe, sort of, don't know. She says, yeah, this is kind of dangerous. I'm out because I don't want to turn into a lizard-like thing and a goblin. So that's like, bye, girlfriend who seriously made a big deal about introducing in the book. Bye. You were gone after 3 issues and you literally meant nothing to the plot. So yeah, Spider-Man and her start flying and web swinging. They find, what's his name, the small boy.
Watch
and
you.
then, yeah, watch you and Andre the Giant have been attacked by the Vulture. Wow, Vulture's in this comic. Almost like he too was in a recent Marvel Cinematic Universe movie in the Spider-Man variety.
Yeah,
played by Michael Keaton, the best Batman of all time.
It was something about like they were going. Was it Going Home? Spider-Man Going Home? Is that what the movie was called?
No, I'm pretty sure it was I'm Coming Home. I'm coming home, tell the world I'm coming home. Oh, wait, Sony still has some reins on me. That's like Michelle's in the movie. Fuck. That's the actual full title of it.
That's a mouthful, James. I feel like they should have.
Oh wait, Sony still has some isms, and now Michelle's in this movie. Fuck. That's the full title of Spider-Man Homecoming. Still not bitter about Michelle, even though Jan probably thinks we completely hate that character, which we do, but still.
All right, James, what did you think of this issue?
I think this issue was okay. Like, it was a while ago since this issue came out, so I had to, like, quickly skim, so if I missed anything, I'm sorry, because I was, like, literally trying to skim read while I was refreshing my mind, but that's, like, literally how much of this comic stayed in my head since I first read it. It's just pretty much Spider-Man fights. The Joan on the Bugle scene is really... It was good when it first happened, but now with what we're going to touch on Amazing, it's very weird. So, yeah, you got that going on. And then you got the girlfriend. I guess she may be gone off the book now. I don't know. It was like, if she is, thank you for this character chip. You know, wow, we're on the road to 300 for Spectacular Spider-Man, and we just got introduced to a tradition that used to be in Spectacular in the 70s, 80s. The girlfriend who will be in the book for a few months as a test run by the new writer as he tries to get Amazing. It doesn't work out, and she's never seen from again. AKA, this is the Iron World effect. The Deb Whitman effect. Literally, nobody would know about Deb Whitman if it wasn't for the 90s show. It had zero to do about her running Spectacular Spider-Man. So you got that. You have, you know, Tinker and Vulture, which is clearly like, oh, wow, how convenient. The villains from the movie are going to be the first villains in an arc after the movie. Wow, how convenient. Who would have fucking called that? You know? The artwork, I still think it's pretty good. And then you got that goddamn dumb moment where it's like a Wile E. Coyote moment. Spider-Man goes right through a wall, and then they try to break the fourth wall in the editor's note, and they can't even get their goddamn volumes of the comics fucking straight. Oh, we're the fourth volume of Amazing Spider-Man. I mean, Spectacular Spider-Man. Let's call it Volume 2, even though the whole Legacy thing shows all the numberings and all the different volumes.
All right, James, any other thoughts? You give this issue a thumbs up, sideways, down?
It's a sideways. It's not bad, but it's definitely not good either.
I'm going to agree with that. Like, this is probably like the issue that's offended me the least about Spectacular. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. I generally thought that the fight with the Tinkerer at the beginning was fairly decent. You know, some good Spider-Man Human Torch dynamics. You know, some good stuff in there. So it's like I could appreciate that. And I didn't totally mind the whole Jonah Robbie scene in there. And the whole Betty Brant just looking like a terrible person thing. That's just funny at this point.
It's almost like they know about the meme started by the guy from uh ASM Classics. It's almost like they know about the meme now, but some of the times how they rape Betty.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, what is the worst possible thing we could have Betty Brant do in this situation? That's what she's gonna do because Betty Brant, basically.
And the weird thing is, it's not even that bad if you think about it. It's literally just she's just gonna agree with Jonah that Spider-Man's working with a spy. That's more just her being stupid than being evil, though.
Yeah, so it's like, the comedy
The
club.
weird thing is Robbie, because it's like, okay, it's the same editor for Spec and Amazing. You think he would tell them, hey, in a month later, they're gonna have Robbie and Amazing call out Peter for bullshit. So maybe you should lay off on the scene where he comes in the Bugle and talks about integrity and printing the truth when he's basically going to say an amazing thing. Yeah, fuck that. I'm focusing on the negatives because Peter, you shouldn't have owned a company.
Yeah, so basically,
No, because we're not going to tell both our writers to make sure your books match up together.
You're getting ahead of yourself. Don't ruin the next
I'm
review.
not jumping to amazing. I'm saying though, it's like you don't have both your writers talk to each other. That way they can line these things up better. You know what I mean?
So the comedy club scene, I really didn't need that.
It's filler. It's like I just recapped it. It was a secret invasion joke. Then Spider-Man made a few quips, and then she said, "Get the fuck out of my life. I don't want to be a lizard woman."
Yeah, so it's like, okay, bye, girlfriend whose name I don't remember. It's like,
it's London, isn't it? Like London something.
Okay, but it's like, yeah. So she's
It's
off.
pretty sad that she's more memorable than that chick from Amazing. Because at least I remember that her name is London something, where the Amazing chick, all I can remember, she's Asian, and that's not being racist. That's literally that's the only thing that Dan's like used to drill into your head is that she was Asian.
So yeah, basically it's a thumb sideways. It's not terrible, but it's not great. Oh, great. Now, do we have to talk about this comic? I don't want to talk about this comic. This. Amazing Spider-Man 789. This is the big legacy relaunch of Amazing
Look at
Spider-Man.
the big number. This is the 789th issue of the Amazing Spider-Man going back to 1962.
Before we even talk about the issue, can we just talk about something else?
The cover?
Why is the original Renew Your Vows, which is not even in freaking continuity...
I think we already brought this up.
Well, it's worth bringing up again.
Because Dan Slott wrote it.
Because Dan Slott wrote it. Because Dan Slott wrote this out of continuity thing, that has to be counted in the numberings. Not Jerry Conway's Spiral, not any other point one issue.
Spiral felt like it was like the buffer issues of Amazing while Renew Your Vows was going on.
Yeah, it's like, what the hell?
You could have literally just said Spiral is counted as those issues, and they're treated as their own issues of Amazing and not point ones now.
That should have been what they
Those
did.
should have been the 5.
Those should have been the 5.
You could have literally included those. If you're counting Renew Your Vows, why the fuck wasn't
Spiral?
No, but here's the thing I'm talking about. In the 90s, going back to our little buddy Ben over here, for 2 months, Amazing was canceled and replaced by The Amazing Scarlet Spider. Dan Slott's reasoning was, well, the main Amazing book while Secret Wars was Renew Your Vows. That's why it's counted. The main Amazing book for those 2 months when they relaunched Spectacular Spider-Man, with Scarlet Spider-Man, would have been Amazing Scarlet Spider. Why aren't those 2 issues counted then, Dan? Is it solely because if you wrote it, it counts? If it's written by Jerry Conway with Spiral, which is the only good issue from Volume 3? No, those don't count. Amazing Scarlet Spider, that doesn't count. Going back to Spectacular, the magazine comics from the 60s, those don't count. But your Renew Your Vows counts in Amazing.
Amazing Spider-Man 789. Fall of Parker, Part 1, top to bottom.
So, can you do this for one thing? Because the comeback I hear from so many people is they referenced it in that Iron Man crossover issue with what's the fucking bad guy name again? region, wasn't it? They referenced that they're filling deja vu. Oh my, you mean a fucking Easter egg? A fucking Easter egg wink.
That was poorly done.
If they would have came out and said that this region, because we have seen people from like the Ultimate Universe and Old Man Logan's universe come into the 616 and live there now. If they would have said this is the region from the Secret War universe, then yeah, by all means, say it takes place because that villain's the Link then. But no, it's a different version of that villain from the main 616.
So it's Fall of Parker Part 1, which the title doesn't make sense because Peter has already fallen by the start of this, so it's like... So it's Part 1, top to bottom. Dan Slott, writer. Stuart Immonen, penciler. Wade von Grobiger is the inker. Marte Gracia is the colorist. VC's Joe Caramagne is the letterer. Oh my gosh. Assistant editor, Allison Stock. Associate editor, Devin Lewis. Editor, Nick Lowe. Oh man. So we start off in Soho. The apartment of Bobby Morse, a.k.a. Mockingbird. Basically, here's the first 2 pages. Peter Parker sucks because Peter Parker sucks.
No, Peter Parker's a lazy fucking do-nothing. He needs to get off his goddamn ass.
Because Peter Parker sucks. Right? That's basically the first 2 pages. Then Peter ignores Harry's phone calls and decides, I'm going to go watch cable news. And then literally every cable news pundit possible says, wow, Peter Parker sucks. Peter Parker sucks.
They don't comment about, its current, topics like what Trump and the recent, national disasters, Vegas. No, everybody's talking about or the fact that Captain America blew up Las Vegas in the comics. No, everybody's talking about Peter Parker.
Or the fact that, the World Peacekeeping Organization S.H.I.E.L.D. just collapsed because of Secret Empire.
Yeah, S.H.I.E.L.D. collapsed. Captain America's evil clone was a Hydra agent. The real Captain America's back. Vegas just got pretty much blown up in the comics.
Or it's like, it's even... It's
nobody's commenting about that. Everybody's saying, fuck you, Peter Parker. What the fuck?
And you could even throw in, because of what's happening in Daredevil right now with Wilson Fisk being mayor, people are like, oh, Wilson Fisk, crime figure turned mayor. Let's look at this journey, because this is actual real news. No, Peter Parker sucks. On literally every channel.
Peter Parker sucks, because according to Dan Slott, that's all people want to write about.
So then Peter opens the fridge and is like, oh yeah, Bobby has literally labeled everything not Peter's or Bobby.
That's not Bobby. That's Michelle. That's Michelle Gonzalez.
Yeah, it's like they're writing Bobby like Michelle Gonzalez.
This is exactly what Michelle did. Michelle did the same joke. Move on. When Peter lost his job when he was blacklisted by Jonah, remember that?
Yes, I do remember that. She did the same
thing. In fact, she went a little bit overboard. She even put a chain link fence over the goddamn fridge. But still.
Then we go
I gotta start a Mockingbird behaving badly running joke now going on in Amazing Spider-Man? Because I can't go for that anymore.
So now we go to the Upper East Side, the home of Harry Lyman, previously known as Harry Osborn, because we're still not off this stupid freaking joke that still has this stupid freaking plot device.
It has no point anymore.
This stupid freaking plot device that literally had no point, and even Tony Stark in the book called it out, and it was just...
It has less of a point now.
So
Norman's off somewhere trying to find magic powers. You think Norman's coming after Harry? After in the fucking Fall of Parker Industries arc, where he fucking outright said, I know you're Harry?
So Harry's like, hey, Peter, why don't you pick up the phone? Why don't you be an actual person? Oh, yeah, that's right, because Peter Parker sucks. Bye. And, oh, yeah.
We gotta make everybody in this book goddamn unlikable.
Oh, yeah, and then Harry and Liz are back together because... Actually,
we gotta make everybody unlikable.
Well, Harry and Liz being back together is actually kind of it's kind of okay because it's like, oh, they, it's like when the Dark Force Dimension took over New York for Secret Empire, they were really worried and they were stuck in the city.
Except that there's hints that she's only doing it to try to get control of Parker Industries, like buildings and shit like that.
I'm choosing to give her the benefit of the doubt because I have to find something to like in this book. I have to find something, James.
I'm not, because you do know that there's rumors that 800 is going to be Green Goblin focus and Return Green Goblin, and that meant that all this shit going back to Superior Spider-Man with Liz and Norman probably will become up in the forefront.
So then we go to the offices of the Daily Bugle, and this is where I really started to hate my life. Betty's on the phone. Betty's on the phone talking about they're planning a party for Flash, I think. And Peter walks in and he's like, hey, what's this bullshit on the front page? And Joe Robertson's like, it's not bullshit. It's truth. You suck. Peter Parker sucks. Peter Parker sucks. Peter Parker sucks. And Peter.
Why is he the front page?
And then literally Peter's like,
don't give me wrong. A billion-dollar company falling apart during an evil invasion of Hydra is a big fucking deal. But why isn't nobody in this goddamn universe pointing the finger at the Nazis?
why is Joe Robertson treating this guy who's always been like a son to him? Why is Joe Robertson being such a dick?
No. Nazis cause all this shit. But yet, we're being told amazing that everybody in New York City has a fucking idiot device that they all think, the Nazis told us that Peter Parker and Parker Industries were behind it, and they cost all our loved ones a job, so it must be true, because we must hate Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Fuck you!
So then Peter like looks at one guy's computer screen and is like, hey, that's wrong. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, it is wrong. And then Joe Robertson, I guess Joe Robertson's going to give Peter a job there. I don't know. They don't address it. And then Peter walks outside, and then random civilians just come up and be like, hey, Peter Parker sucks. Peter Parker sucks. And then Peter's like, man, I really suck, don't I? And then we go to the birthday party for Flash. We're literally...
This is where I lose my shit. This is where I'm going to really go up.
We're literally...
It has to do with a certain redhead.
Mary Jane, Randy Robertson, Harry Osborn, Flash Thompson. Everyone says, Peter Parker sucks. Peter Parker sucks.
But no, if you go according to CBR and the fanboys, they're not saying that at all. It's like, what comic are you reading?
So then Peter goes home, and Bobby's like, did you even get off the couch today? This couch is my safe place. And Bobby's like, wow, you suck. Put on your suit. I don't want to look at you anymore. I want to look at Spider-Man.
Why wouldn't he admit? Why does he go, yeah? Why doesn't he say, yeah, I went out and I almost got murdered by everyone, including my friends and loved ones?
So then Spider-Man...
But no, he has to be a whiny little bitch, and just say, yeah, I was a slob all day. I just sat on your couch. Fuck me, please. I'm pathetic.
So then Spider-Man and Mockingbird, they go out, they fight the Griffin. Everyone hates Spider-Man. Mockingbird's like, wow, you people suck. So then Spider-Man kicks the Griffin in the face, and Griffin, like, throws a food truck, and then Spider-Man's like, I'm saving this guy's food truck, because that's what I do, because this is the worst fucking dialogue I've read in so long. Because, oh my gosh, stop hitting us over the head with Spider-Man's morals. Everyone who knows Spider-Man knows his morals. We don't need to put it in the fucking dialogue. I'm dropping F-bombs now. This
is. Remember when I told you that there's going to be no light at the end of tunnel for at least Amazing coming off of Legacy?
Oh my gosh!
Oh, who was almost 100% correct? This is somehow they found a way to be worse than the shit that we were previously reading.
And then Spider-Man and Mockingbird go home and fuck because
Peter Parker sucks.
To be continued.
So does Mockingbird. Literally.
Oh, jeez, James. I hate this comic. I hate it so much. I want to give context. While I was reading this comic, I literally had to put it down twice while I was reading it and walk away just to blow off some steam because that's how much this comic pissed me off. I hate this comic. It is the worst comic I've read all year, at least.
You want to know how bad it was? One of my coworkers at work, who's also a comic book fan, you want to know what his exact reply to me when I saw him during our lunch break? Or it was either lunch break or first break. He goes, I found out Peter Parker's a fucking bastard liar. And I go, you read the current issue? He goes, yep, never reading another issue of Spider-Man again.
This is probably the... let me just, because I did have a rant prepared about this, and I'm trying... Let me take you back 10 years ago. Well, not quite 10 years ago, but almost 10 years ago. January of 2008. The first arc of Brand New Day. They hit you over the head with Peter Parker sucks. Peter Parker sucks. How are they making the exact same mistake again? But now
this is the third time.
But now instead of it just...
John, this is the third Back to Basic reboots where they did the Peter Parker sucks.
But now it's like, back then, it wasn't like, you didn't have all of his friends shitting on him. You didn't have Joe Robertson and Harry Osborn and everyone saying Peter Parker sucks. It was just like, that was the premise that they were trying to it was like a picture they were trying to paint. It wasn't so upfront with it. But now it's
I don't know. Brand New Day issue 1 was kind of
But this
that
is
with the whole line about, oh, I can't apply for these jobs. I don't got a computer.
Okay,
and it's like, dude, go to the fucking library.
Let me clarify, because the first issue of Brand New Day where that happens is terrible, and I hate it, and I've always said I hated it. This somehow manages to be worse. I didn't think you could get worse than that. I stand corrected, because you remember like a year or two ago when we were saying we kind of needed like a Brand New Day-esque style back to basics reboot? Clearly we should have been more specific, because we meant...
No, I was specific. I said, I need Dan off the book.
This is the worst issue of Amazing Spider-Man I don't even know in how long. The last time I had a rant like this, I think, was that stupid issue with the Zodiac where it was like, Doc Ock's smarter than Spider-Man, I hate this comic. I hate it so much. I hate every page of it. Except for maybe the Harry and Liz getting back together, but we'll see where that goes. If James is right, then I hate that too. But it's like, that was the only saving grace, and I just had to find something to like. It was like...
And it's not a saving grace because both characters are completely... Liz has been made an evil bitch in the last few years that I can't even say her getting back to Harry is a good thing, because it's just going to turn out to be her wanting to fuck with him to get some control from Parker Industries that maybe Harry still has control on or whatever.
It's like, how many characters were just complete... I hate to... I don't usually use this word, but I'm going to say it. How many characters were just straight up wrong? How many characters did Dan Slott just get straight up wrong in this issue?
Let me do a count. Let me do a count real quickly for you, and you get to tell me if they're written wrong or how they should be written. Mockingbird,
wrong.
Peter Parker,
straight up wrong.
Okay, I'm going to skip over Normie and them because they're kids, whatever. But Harry,
wrong.
Liz,
wrong, but that predates Dan Slott.
Yeah. Robbie,
straight up wrong.
Betty,
iffy.
Mary Jane,
so freaking wrong I can't even deal with it.
So wrong unless it's 1976, then she's right, because this is how she was then. Because remember, according to Dan, this is the only way the character should be written. Aunt May,
the least offensive out of all of them, but still wrong.
Flash.
I mean, he wasn't like...
He's just there to tease an upcoming arc.
Pretty much, yeah.
His birthday is just teasing an upcoming arc.
Who else we got? Anyone else?
No, that's about every main character from Spider-Man.
So every freaking main character from Spider-Man was wrong. At least on some level.
Because Jonah wasn't in the issue, was he?
No, Jonah was not in the issue. Wasn't he supposed to be?
Why, was he promoted as being in the issue?
I don't know. I thought I heard that somewhere, but maybe I'm just making stuff up in my head.
Maybe it's just people thought because the scene is spectacular, maybe they thought that was going to happen in Amazing too, maybe.
But yeah, so it's like, literally every single character was wrong. That takes skill. That takes real skill to get every single character so absolutely wrong.
I mean, honestly, I'm not one of those guys that jumps in and saying people are wrong and they're not afraid to have it, and they're not allowed to have an opinion or whatever. But I want to know what these people are smoking. They're saying that this issue was good and are defending it. I mean, honestly, it's like, how? How can you say that this is the characters? How can you say that any of them were justified or right for the way they act? The only one who comes close, if you ask me, to being justified and right is Robbie.
And
that's because he did call out Peter for all the bullshit that I've been calling out for the last 3 years.
But it's still so out of character for Robbie. It's just like...
It's out of character for him not to point out the good, too. And just focus on the bad. But he has a point with the shit he's saying, too. He's 100% right. But he should have printed that along with the whole... Well, Parker Industries also did this 1,000 good things.
So, I mean, do we have any other thoughts? Have we gotten out pretty much everything we want to? I hate this comic.
I know I haven't really gone on. You haven't asked for reviews yet. I just kind of interrupted your review.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was also like your review. Okay. James.
No. I got so much to go on this book. Trust me, John.
Okay, James. I'm sorry. James, grace us with your review.
Aren't you going to give us your rating?
No, you don't want to know my rating. I can't give my rating on YouTube.
It's the middle finger.
No, it's 10 times worse than a middle finger.
Oh, let me begin with the beginning with Bobby. She's Michelle, isn't she? This is literally just them reusing the plot line with Michelle. I'm not going crazy there. She's written like Michelle Gonzalez, right?
Literally, exactly like Michelle Gonzalez.
I mean, people are justifying this as just, oh, she's being silly. And in fact, she's the only one who's sympathetic to Peter in his comic. Oh yeah, because a sympathetic person would bitch at the person who needs a place to stay and will write on all the food that it's all hers and he can't fucking touch it so he can starve. And then puts up on her fridge the humiliating front page headline of him with the little like letters things all reading off ha ha ha. Yeah. Totally, she's the only one who actually cares about Peter in this book. Totally! Oh, I know. Speaking of, another thing to get pissed off, the Cleveland Browns just scored.
How is that something to get pissed off about?
I don't know. I just want to piss you off even more. I'm pissed off. So then we got it's the way Peter is in the scene. When characters have died, he never got this way. When Otto Octavius took over his body for 2.5 years, he never got this way.
When Otto Octavius took over his body, he literally went back in the next station and was like, whoa, that was a crazy day.
When characters have died, he's never gotten this bad. I get it. His company just went bankrupt. I get it's a bad thing. But you know what, guys, if this happened in the real world, just happened to a Steve Jobs or a Mark Zuckerberg or whatever, do you know what would have happened in real life with these guys? They wouldn't be on a couch all day in their underwear like, right, fucking sucks. No, they got obligations they still gotta fucking do. They still gotta be a fucking adult. If tomorrow, knock on wood, I get fired tomorrow, yeah, I might be depressed and not want to do something, but I know I got bills to pay, I got shit to do, I gotta go find a way to get a new fucking job. I'm not gonna sit on couches for fucking weeks watching the news and say, my fucking life sucks, Parker luck, why is this all, it's all because of bad luck, not because I don't know how a fucking flash drive works to save my fucking billion-dollar company. My God, for 50 goddamn fucking years this has happened to Batman and Iron Man and Tony Stark and Hank Pym and all those fuckers, but I can't think about doing anything to save my own goddamn company because I'm a fucking moron now? Because I'm a fucking moron now? Are you fucking kidding me, bro? Are you fucking kidding me?
I wish I was.
The only goddamn thing I can relate to this little sniveling little bitch, and I'm talking about Peter here, it's the fact that go look at his phone and look at my phone. Wow, see something similar? That's because they're the same fucking phone.
Because Peter Parker's relatable.
When I was goddamn, and this is going to go to shoot for CBR from another message board for a second for tangent. There's a board post about why do people like JMS better than Dan Slott, and it seems to come up with a consensus with some people on there. It's all because it's nostalgia. No, it's because for somehow when Peter was right on, like he was almost like in his mid-30s and married, had a job as a teacher and all that stuff, somehow he was more relatable to me when I was like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 when those issues were coming out. A teenager was able to relate to a 30-something, late 20s, early 30s-year-old guy then. But when we're both in our late 20s now, I can't even recognize the guy except for the fact that we have the same phone. That's a fucking problem.
Remember, James? He couldn't be married because you can't relate to him anymore.
You got the listing. I already touched upon this. Hey, let's send our kids away and make it like we're going to have a corporate fight behind their back, but really we're going to fuck on the desk. And then there's little hints with her saying, what, Harry, you don't want to kiss me because you think this is all elaborate plan so I can get the assets of Parker Industries that you still own? Wow, really subtle there, aren't you, Dan? Really subtle, but that's probably what's going on. Then you got Peter, of course. Like I said, if a goddamn other billionaire who had a company went out of business today, you can bet his ass he's using that phone he has to be fucking responsible.
At least trying to clean up.
That company name isn't Oscorp. It's Parker Industry. Why is Harry dealing with all this shit, Peter? Why does Harry have to go through all this shit? Because you got to be a whiny little bitch on a couch? Spider-Man, Peter Parker, the spectacular Spider-Man, is a whiny bitch on a couch when Harry Osborn has to deal with this shit. Harry, get the pumpkin bombs and blow this motherfucker up.
Wow.
Because this is clearly not Peter Parker. I don't know who the fuck this guy is. And then we get to the part again where everybody hates Chris, but only it's everybody hates Peter Parker. A Nazi traitor version of Captain America takes over the United States, puts mutants in concentration camps, destroys Las Vegas, and again, sent me the real life people in Vegas, but I'm just using an example because of comics. All that happens with a Nazi Hydra version of Captain America, but every newspaper, every TV channel is not covering that a Nazi version of Captain America and other superheroes took over the United States of America, destroyed Las Vegas, put mutants in concentration camps, did all these horrible things, but a company goes out of business because of the Nazis, and he's public enemy number one? He's public enemy number one.
You would think that,
he's the one who everyone in New York wants to kill because the Nazis said that you're the one who caused everything, and my cousin lost a job because of it too, because of one of those Nazi guys, infiltrated my company. Yeah, so it's your fault. It's your fault for Secret Empire. What kind of world do we live in? That Peter Parker is the one who gets blamed for. I get it's Peter Parker, it's Spider-Man, it's Tyranny High, everybody blames him for everything. But a fucking Nazi version of Captain America takes over the country, and according to Dan Slott, nobody's talking about that. It's all fuck you, Peter Parker. What the fuck is this writing? Seriously. Even Robbie, who you would think would be written as a guy who was like, yeah, Peter fucked up a lot. He really fucked up a lot. He should have never had this company to begin with. And he says that in the book. But, he had a charity he needed for his Uncle Ben. He gave couple ex-psychopaths a job and gave them second chances. Some of them did good with it, like Harry Osborn. Some of them didn't, like Clash. But he gave all these ex-psychopaths jobs. He tried to clear his company name after Otto was in his body. He did all this nice stuff. He tried to help people with charity. He stopped a goddamn zombie invasion. He stopped, he actually saved lives during Secret Empire, being in the front line with other heroes. He did all this good stuff. No, I'm just going to ignore all that and focus on the negative because fuck Peter Parker. Then we get and again, people said, well, Betty invited her to the party. She clearly still cares about Peter. She outright in the bugle scene says she's not going to invite him. It's not until he shows up and makes the scene that she feels like she has to invite him. He's so pathetic, nobody wants to invite him to a birthday party. Because fuck Peter Parker.
Should we talk about said birthday party?
Oh, no. Because, remember, Dan Slott, his father's a science teacher. So, of course, when Peter Parker gets a job back at the Bugle, is it as a photographer? No. Is it for writing for the paper? Maybe because he had a business, that he ran, even though he ran to the ground. He still ran a business. Maybe he could write for the business section? No. Maybe he could, be like kind of like Clark Kent, where he's a field reporter who can be there. So whenever there's a crime, it makes sense for him to go run out to be Spider-Man. No, he's the science writer going to be, because that's a thing. So literally, he goes from being working as a scientist for Mark Modell, running his own science company. Every goddamn issue is nothing but nonstop fake super science. And now he's going to be writing about Marvel fake super science for the Bugle. And you know why that is? Because Dan Slott wants to honor his father, who was a high school science teacher. Wow. It's not like Peter never had a job before where he was a high school science teacher, written by a competent writer who made it work.
But no, James, don't you get it? You couldn't relate to him back then.
But I can relate to him being somehow... Yeah, Robbie, here's the logic too. I'm going to shit about fuck Peter Parker in the newspaper like every other goddamn person, but I'm going to offer him a job probably to write for my newspaper. Peter Parker, who was blacklisted by Jonah for making fake Photoshop photos to declare Jonah's name, and then, according to all of you, was worse than the Nazis during a secret invasion empire event. And you're going to hire him probably to write for that newspaper again. Where's this logic? And then we go to New York City, where everybody fucking hates Peter Parker. Because nobody can blame the Nazis. Literally, people go, they said it was you. Yeah, the Nazis! You're Nazi propaganda! Everybody in New York City is smart enough to agree. Okay, real Captain America, that was an evil alternate timeline version. Other heroes are okay because they were just listening to camp because they thought he was worthy of 4. But fuck Peter Parker because the Nazis said so. What the fuck? And then we go to the party. Hey, remember like 2 years ago when Dan Slott was at a convention and he said the only way Mary Jane should have been written is that party girl from the 70s? And what do you know? How does she act at this at this birthday party, John? And tell me exactly how does she act. Hey, don't we have a cow, man? Hey, PDO. Hey, everybody. Isn't it so hip and cool? Why is it that Harry Osborn is able to grow as a character? Liz is able to grow as a character. Robbie now runs the Bugle, so he grew as a character. Peter ran his own company. He was able to grow as a character, even though he ran into the ground. Aunt May, she's not acting like, oh my God, Doc Ock totally was the good guy during Secret Empire because all the newspapers say so. She's not acting like that. So, that's some development by Aunt May. Harry has some development. Even Liz had a little bit of development. Why is Mary Jane forced to still act like it's goddamn 1971? Because fuck Mary Jane. Because I'm like every other Marvel writer who for some reason thinks the second she married Peter, she became a boring bitch. Even though you would see her constantly still going out and having parties and being the life of the party and even getting Peter out of it. You know what? Could have fixed this problem? Like back when Peter used to go for these moments when he was married, when he was really like, I am the Spider and really like, I'm a clone and, all the bad shit, Morlan, all the what got him through it? Mary Jane smiling and being there for him and cheering him up and taking him dancing or just getting naked for him or whatever. But you know what I mean? Being a wife, being a caring human being. No, instead, she goes, that's lame and stupid. You guys want to cheer up Peter. That would be embarrassing if you guys cheer him up because he deserves it. Hey, let's celebrate our buddy who had his legs amputated, who could probably relate to what's going on with Peter and all this stuff, being that all this bad shit going on in his life. Maybe no, let's all sit down and turn Flash's birthday party into let's all fuck Peter. Let's roast Peter behind his back, not realizing that he's behind the door right there, listening to them all saying he's a loser. God, he fucking sucks. Cause fuck Peter Parker. Literally. Oh, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be Peter right now. Fuck you. Fuck you, everybody at the party. And then we get to the part where he comes home to Mockingbird. And then she goes, what, you haven't got off my couch lately? So she starts being a bitch to him again. And instead of saying, oh, I went out to write, I got bitched at by my former boss who I thought was like a mentor and a father figure. all in New York tried to mob me and murder me, and those cops are right there, and they probably would have jumped in and tried to murder me too because they thought they're blaming me for everything, even though people thought you were a Nazi, but you got away with it. And as you said, you got a new job already, but nobody will hire me because fuck Peter Parker. I went to a party where literally everybody, including my aunt, said fuck me. Yeah, I got a right to be kind of upset tonight. But no, he doesn't say that. He just goes, oh, yeah, your couch stopped me because I'm a fucking lazy dumbass. So then he goes off being Spider-Man, and he decides that he's going to be Spider-Man 24/7 because we haven't already fucking read that, Dan. And he makes out with Mockingbird. As he goes, yeah, she's right, Peter Parker does suck.
You know what's ironic? The first episode of Supergirl...
Literally, the comic ends with everybody saying fuck Peter Parker, and then ending with Peter Parker himself saying fuck Peter Parker.
Literally, the first episode of Supergirl...
Don't buy Peter Parker in the Spectacular Spider-Man. You know, a book where the Amazing book just said everybody fucking hates the guy.
The first episode of Supergirl Season 3 premiered this week. It did basically that plot where it was like, Kara is really depressed because of Mon-El leaving, and so she's putting all her effort into being Supergirl. But they did it actually kind of well, where it's like her friends are worried about her, and it's like she has love in her life, and she's just so deep in grief that she can't.
If this was written by any other writer, what you just described with Supergirl would be happening in Amazing Spider-Man right now.
Because like what happened on Supergirl made sense, and it was well executed, whereas in Spider-Man it just sucks.
Literally, people are saying, well, Betty invited him to a party. She wasn't mean to him. She literally says on the phone call, Harry, I invited everybody, but I'm not going to invite, and then Peter Parker interrupts her. Literally, go back. That's what she says. She basically says, I'm not going to invite Peter to the party. Because, you know, cheering him up by having his friends and family. His aunt got invited to his high school bully's birthday party, but not him. He was only invited because she felt bad for him after Robbie went nuts on him.
So, James, what's your rating for this issue?
This comic is like... I'm not going to say it's the worst issue of Amazing Spider-Man because my head immediately pops in with, you know, Omid and One More Day. But this is worse. This is worse than Sin's Past.
It's in the top 10 worst ASM issues.
Oh no,
ever.
it's got to be top 10 because those are multi-parters, Omid and One More Day. If you're just going by arcs, this is already like top 5.
Yeah.
The 789th Legacy Back to Basics. Okay, here's something that me and John kind of touched on. Dan Slott has basically done this 4 times already. When you have done 4 back-to-basics plot lines in a comic book, you were on a book too long. He did the first Brian Day arc, which was very much, oh, my life sucks. The first goddamn big-time arc, which was kind of a back-to-basics, which ended with Peter getting a new job and getting like a lot of, you know, zeros on his paycheck. So I guess you could say, but the beginning of that was a real life suck, where everybody, including his girlfriend and Mary Jane, one of them crashed on their couch. Then you had then you had volume 3 where it was, my life sucks, but I don't care. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. I'm Spider-Man. I'm cool again. And then you got this. When one writer has 4 of the back-to-basics comic books, and all 4 of them suck, and are written out of character and badly, you know a guy's been on the book for way too fucking long. You want to know the best part about this comic is? They really had I like how Dan, because you can tell he is that old school fanboy, he went with the old school look with the editor notes and the recap page and the font and even the back page being not really just a picture of the next cover, you know, but an actual like, what's this going on here? Well, tune into the next month of Amazing Spider-Man to find out all this stuff. I do like that. It is kind of like a flashback, you know, a homage to the past. But that is all like window dressing. You know what I mean? That's like saying the best elements of a movie is the special effects. It still doesn't have a good story. It still doesn't got good acting. It still doesn't got good dialogue. Just if the best part of your movie is special effects and you got nothing, you don't got a good movie. You just got good computer stuff. And that's what that is. Are
we ready to say what we decided on in the chat room about how this Dan Slott is probably this is the worst run in Spider history?
He is officially the worst writer in Amazing Spider-Man history. And that's saying something. When Danny O'Neill, you know, the Howard Mackie reboot, and he's arguably the worst writer in Spider-Man history now.
I would say
he's the Vince Russo. And I have said this 1,000 times. I know John doesn't get this reference, but he's a wrestling writer who, when he had Vince McMahon and other WWF writers and producers as his filter, he had good stories. But as soon as he was, which is the Brand New Day people, he had the other writers, he had editors, he had all those people to keep him in reins. But then when he became the only sole writer of Amazing Spider-Man, and he had no more filter, we get this shit.
I would say that from 698, which is the Doc Ock takes over Peter's body issue, from 698 to the present is the worst run in Spider history.
I would even go before then. Because you got stuff like Alpha and that forgettable Lizard and Vulture storyline. Like, I would always say, like, the last really good Spider-Man comic book I read was Dead No More. You know what I mean? Or was that what it's called, Dead No More? The one where he says nobody's ever gonna die, no one dies?
Yeah, no one dies.
That,
but that was
the
written
last good issue of Amazing Spider-Man. And half of that wasn't even written. And the parts of it I don't like are the written dialogue parts.
So, James,
it's like it's sad because there's so much more I could say about this book, but I just don't want us to keep on just beating a dead horse. I just don't get how people can like this. Like, I'm not. You can like it. I'm not saying you can't, but I just don't see how there's no way I can see how you can like this. This is by hands down one of the worst runs of Amazing Spider-Man in history. This is just one of the worst issues of Amazing Spider-Man.
It's probably one of the worst. If it's
every
not,
character is assassinated by Dan Slott in this issue.
If it's
he didn't already get them like Black Cat and Ben Reilly and those people, he gets them here.
If this is not the worst issue we've ever reviewed on this podcast, it's one of the worst.
Like I said, we reviewed kind of One More Day, kind of because we touch upon it when it's relevant while discussing back issues or current issues. We reviewed Omit, we reviewed Sins Past, we reviewed some really shitty Spider-Man books. We reviewed Clone Saga stuff. This is worse. Not worse than One More Day, and we're not worse than Omit. Those are their own levels of bad. And they know why they're bad, and they should feel bad. But the rest of this is hands down the worst. Not including One More Day and Brand New Day, which have their own like separate category for being bad. So if you disclude them, this has got to be the worst issue of Amazing Spider-Man I ever read. If you discount One More Day and Omit, this is hands down the worst issue of Amazing Spider-Man I have ever read in my life.
And so I
can't even recognize the book. It's 789 issue of the Amazing Spider-Man. And nothing about it was amazing. It's badly written. Stuart Innerman, whose artwork I normally like, is not that good. It does not fit this book at all. Because he makes everybody look like they're 12 years old. Which fit when he drew Ultimate Spider-Man, but not when he's drawing Amazing Spider-Man.
I mean, do we have anything else?
I mean, there's more I want to say to rant, but at the same time, it's like I don't want to waste our time by having me go on for 5 hours because there is so much wrong with this one comic. It's not even like a double-sized or triple-sized book, and there's so much fucking wrong with this.
All right, that's going to conclude this episode. So, James, any final shout-outs or words for the listeners before we sign off?
Shout out to Aaron Rodgers. I just found out you're going to be out for the whole year probably. Get well, dude. We're going to need you because it looks like we're not going to have a good team now without you. Get back soon, Aaron. Shout out to Cheesecake Factory because I went down to Chicago last night and got some cheesecake. Yummy cheesecake. That was good. Alfredo was also good there. Really fucking expensive, but good. So, yeah, shout out to Cheesecake Factory. That's about it.
Shout out to my shout outs, Marvel Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, thank you for Spider-Man. Other shout outs, Supergirl, episode 1, season 3, really good. Other shout outs.
Shout out to the way the Spider-Man characters used to be running. Because remember how it used to be before when Peter Parker was down in his dumps, how Mary Jane would be, like I said, would be there for him as his shoulder to lean on and cry on. Harry and Flash would always want to take him out to have a beer or go out for coffee or try to get him out of his funk. Here, none of them do that. They discussed it as maybe that's a possibility at the party, but they had weeks to do that.
Shout out to anyone who was lucky enough to not read this comic. Anyway, next week we'll be back with another episode of Heroes Assemble, which is the official title of our new like spin-off podcast. So we'll be back with another episode of that next week. Yeah, other than that, thank you all for tuning in. See y'all later.